Hello, everybody. My name is Boriana YONTCHEVA. I'm a Deputy Division Chief and Mission Chief for Seychelles at the International Monetary Fund. I did a Master's in International Economics at the University of Manchester and then my PhD in Aix-en-Provence, which is already, I can't believe it, 20 years ago. And since then, I joined the fund. I initially planned to stay there for 2 or 3 years, and I had so much fun that, it's like, 20 years. So what do we do? Essentially, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, we have 3 roles. We do capacity building, lending, and surveillance. So I have done essentially a little bit of the 3 throughout my career. When I started, I spent several years at the Institute for Capacity Development. So I was training officials from member countries on pretty much everything from monetary policy to fiscal policy, basic statistics, financial market analysis, and the likes. We have training centers all over the world, several of them in Africa, one in Western Hemisphere, and some in Asia, and one even in Vienna that are working for different regions in the world. And after that, I joined mostly what are area departments, which are in fact departments that are focusing on countries. So I worked on all sorts of countries, from G7 countries like France, also Belgium, countries like emerging markets like Romania at the time, Thailand, low-income countries like Cameroon, Mali, and now I'm the mission chief for Seychelles, which is a sort of advanced economy, very dependent on tourism and got massively hit. So to give you a very concrete example, what I found so fascinating at the fund for both and why I stayed so long is because if you like applied economics, this is one of the best place to be, because you really end up digging into what economic policy is about. So it's literally about discussing with governments, regardless of the size of the country or the development dimension of the country, how are they going to do economic policy, and in particular, how are they going to respond to shocks? If I think about my last 2 assignments, Mali had a very specific challenge of being a high-risk location. Since 2009, they had half of the north of the country is essentially in civil war with jihadists. The country is facing enormous challenges of getting organized, raising revenue, and we provide a lot of technical assistance to try to improve financial management, provide financial assistance, give a stamp of guarantee on the economic program of the government so that other donors can support them, while trying at the same time to support the government into their development policy and security policy, while facing all those security challenges. Seychelles is a completely different place. Seychelles, we think of Seychelles as a tropical paradise where everything goes well. It's a high-income country, and they didn't need a financing program. They had one just to check their economic policy, but they didn't need any money from the fund. And then the COVID crisis happened, and as most of the tourist-dependent countries, they got hit among the hardest in the world. Their GDP is expecting it to plummet by almost 14% this year. Reserves have been reduced. Exports almost arrived to a standstill. And you can imagine the impact it has. And because they are an advanced economy, actually, you don't have that many sources of financing, as well as external financial market essentially froze during the crisis for smaller countries. As a result, we were able to disburse a rapid financing instrument, 100% of quota, very rapidly already in April, and we were one of the main financing sources. So what does it entail in concrete terms? In fact, you have to look at all the macro dimension of a country, identify what are the key challenges, how to respond if inflation goes out of whack, how to identify that demand needs to be supported in a crisis like this. How much can we lend given our constraints, and how much can we help the governments deal with other donors, other private sector creditors? What do you do literally when a country has lost its sources of external reserves, has lost its most of its income, and now has a debt to GDP ratio which goes through the roof? So it will be extremely difficult for them to find another source of financing. Those are the real life issues that teams deal at the IMF. So when you start, you generally, how do you get to work as a fund? Well, essentially, one of the main sources of recruitment is what we call our economist program, where we hire people as the last year of their PhD. So for many universities, including in Europe, we have a recruitment bureau in Paris that handles the recruitment of Europe and Africa-based students. That's how I got in. And so the economist program lasts now 3 years. You get assigned to 2 different departments, one functional, one area department. It gives you a little bit of flavor, and then after that, so this is the core people who are considered fungible economists. We also hire mid-career specialists, for example, banking supervisors or specialists in customs, and those are people who have worked for a while, generally in their home countries, and then they come to help for very specific issues. We also hire data scientists as well as research analysts. Those are students with masters that we hire for short-term duration for a contract. It gives them the opportunity to work for a few years at the fund and then move on to greener pastures. I think the best way would be, in fact, to ask questions, and then this will help me see what you're interested in hearing from me, and I'll be happy to answer to anything. Thank you.